Do you feel lost? Is something missing in your life? Are you struggling to find your purpose here on earth?
And from a very young age, I felt this like really compelling push inside of me, something internal inside of me, always like pushing me around, almost as if it was bullying me in a way. I'm not happy. Am I really gonna just find a great wife, get married, have children, work until I'm 65, get a watch at retirement, and then that's it? Like, is that what I'm here for, really? And so the first day that I walked into the church, I can remember just the preacher got up and he shared a word, and I didn't understand any of it. It went way over my head. I was like, that makes no sense to me. I'm gonna go, okay. And but then the preacher said something really interesting. He said, if you want prayer, come line up here. I will pray for you. And I thought, well, sure. I let everybody pray for me. Prayer is good. I let any
Absolutely.
Major worldview religion pray. Sure, come and pray for me. And so I'm and you got to remember, I know nothing about this culture, and I see people lining up, and the preacher is going by and praying for people, saying prayers, and he gets to me, and I feel like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of catch my prayer, turn around and go home, and I kind of did my church experience. I'm good. I understand this thing now. I know what's going on here. And during the times, I saw some people weeping and obviously feeling some kind of emotion, and I just felt like, that's a little too much for me. I'm not ready for that. So I'm going to just, receive my prayer. But I also learned by observation. I saw some people, opening their hands and closing their eyes, and I thought, oh, interesting. I'll try that too, because I can adapt. In a moving, active environment, I survive by adapting. So I'm going to do that too. And his turn came where it was for me, where he laid hands on me and prayed for me. And it was in that moment that I met God.
So you were sharing with us about your experience at this church. You just walked in there?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Yeah, I just walked in there, and he was going to pray for people, and I was like, yes, sure, you can pray for me. Why not?
Why not?
I'm a modern world explorer. Sure,
Yes.
I'll have my church experience. And
Sure.
so he's going by and
Add to the list of experiences.
that's exactly how I saw it. I was like, sure, I've experienced other faith. I'm crazy. I'll try anything, And so he's laying hands on people, and I'm kind of looking down like, oh, okay, that's weird. That's a little too much for me. Like, I'm unfamiliar. This is unfamiliar, unknown.
Territory.
I don't have a friend to hold my hand and say, this is what's happening. I didn't know those things.
Okay.
And but through observation, like I said, just being able to change in a moving environment, I looked down, and so I closed my eyes and opened my hands, and the preacher went by and bam, bam, laid hands on me. And to be honest, I'm not really sure if he actually got his hand on me or not. I don't know. But in that moment, I met God. And
now that's a very interesting concept, right? So when people hear you say, I met God,
mm-hmm.
that's a big loaded expression.
Mm-hmm.
Help us understand, what do you mean by that? You met God. How can people meet God?
You know what? It's a great question. Mm-hmm. And when I say I met God, this Spirit started showing me things in my life that were so dear and so hidden that there was just no person I could have even verbalized to be able to make this stuff up. There's no way I could have explained it. It was too deep and too deep down inside of me to be able to, and I'm unbiased. I don't have, how I see who I thought the Christian God was like I said, an old guy in the sky. I was much more interested in other worldviews, much more interested. It's not like I was cheering on, the Son of God, Jesus Christ. I wasn't. I was like, I met him and he showed me some things about my life and already like started making my broken heart become whole again. And he showed me some things about other people in my life that were very dear to me, but it was a big, deep secret inside my heart. And I felt like whatever this was, this God, and I didn't realize at the time that it was God, I said, whatever this experience was, it's far bigger than me. It's far bigger than my ideology. It's far bigger than all of my world experiences put together. Something is happening here. And I remember just coming to that moment where I was like, what just happened to me? You got to remember, I'm 25 years hardcore, searching out everything else. But the one thing that separated this experience from every other experience in every other country was that for the first time in my life, I started to feel there wasn't that burning, pushing sensation in my heart anymore. I started to feel like, whoa, what's happening inside of me? Something's happening. I wasn't ready for it. But I was out of ideas outside, and I felt like I had really given a good, honest try in everything else, and I ran out of ideas. I'm like, what more is there to this life? And when that feeling, that almost like a warm hug, have you ever sat on the beach and just felt like the waves come up on you and then go back down and come back up on you? That's how I can describe how that feeling was for me, because for so many years that pushing sensation had caused me to go all over the world and really go wholeheartedly at whatever life experience had to offer.
Now, here's the question. Feelings,
yes,
we know are not dependable.
Yeah.
It could be the environment, it could be perhaps the music or something that
Yes.
can invoke certain feelings, right? There is a science behind
Absolutely.
every type of music. But then they go away, right? You change the environment, feelings go away. Did that feeling go away for you? How do you know that this feeling was different from all other feelings?
Thank you. Also, excellent question. So let me finish that part of the story and then I will answer that question.
Okay.
So when I started asking myself, did this really happen? Is this real? And you got to remember, nobody's there explaining anything to me. This is self-discovery. One of the things that God showed me, and at the time, I'm not even sure it's God, right? I'm trying to process everything, is that he gave me a scripture, a specific scripture in the book of Job. Now, I don't know scripture, so I don't really know if I'm making this up in my head. That's a real-time thought.
Describe when you say he gave me the scripture. What does that mean?
I saw a picture, an image of a scripture, of a specific name and chapter and verse.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure because I'm like, is that scripture?
You never read the Bible, so you didn't know where it came from.
So I went and sat down, and I didn't know that people actually carried Bibles to churches. So I'm like, oh, a Bible. And so I grabbed this person's Bible and I started flipping through. And this is all discovery. I'm like, is this for real? Is this really happened to me? And I flipped through and I found the particular scripture that I felt like God had given me. And that scripture was the concluding statement to everything that he showed me when he introduced himself. It was the concluding statement to all that he had showed me, to all the feelings and emotions that I had. He showed me himself through his spirit, or what we call, I felt like at the time, emotions and feelings. And then it was the definitive and concluding statement to everything he had showed me. So he revealed himself to me by his spirit and backed it up with his physical word written in the Bible. And so for me, that feeling that experience, that one day, was enough for me that I still try to run with as much fervor and passion about life and purpose and calling and pursue that wholeheartedly. And it's in that calling that I find happiness. It's in that calling that I find my life purpose. It's in that, it's in answering that call that I almost feel like I stumbled into. Like it wasn't my intention, but that's the way that it went. And ever since that day, my life did a complete 180, and I don't have that, I haven't felt that empty void feeling in many years since I met God.
All right, so that's a really incredible story. And we know that there is a purpose and a reason for all of this, because God created us in His image. And when we read Genesis chapter 2, we know that when God created Adam, He put in him His own breath. And that breath of God, that relationship was severed because of Adam's disobedience. So it's that part of us that is always yearning for God. Mm-hmm. And we try and fill it with so many different things, mm-hmm. right? But it is that spirit connection with God that we truly are after, that gives us the purpose and the meaning that we are all looking for. Now there is somebody watching this program and is struggling through the same issues as you, and many people do. What would you like to tell them?
I'm glad you asked that. If you have the breath of life in you, that breath of life came from something. And it took me years to discover what my big picture purpose was. And there is a reconciliation. There is a Father. There is a God out there who is trying to bring you back to Himself, and He's removing all the barriers. My process was part of the purpose, and whatever struggles that you may find yourself in, or whatever kind of low spots, or whatever questions that you might have, such that I had, that say, what is my purpose in life? I encourage you to keep exploring and give God, Jesus Christ, a try, because that was where I found my answer. And believe me, I had tried several other, as I mentioned, I was out of ideas. I had nothing else. I had become content because I was out of ideas, and so that process was part of our big picture purpose. And I know that if you have the breath of life, you also have a God-given purpose. He has a purpose and He has a plan, and I encourage you to explore that and give him a genuine, authentic try.
All right, so Jason has also written an incredible book, and we're going to give you the details of that book. If you'd like to get your hands on that book, you can contact us on the number that is listed below, or we'll put you in touch directly with Jason. And it's an incredible book that will tell you about his journey, and maybe you can find your answers as you read that book. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, don't go anywhere. We have lots more for you.